Oh boy, damn, Drew, that was quick. You Hold on, I'm still getting set up. Give me a second. Sorry, it's just my son and I in the house. So everyone who is here so far, special guest today. I need to type this in, right? So how do you save it? Dude, I'm still learning all this nonsense. Give me 1 second, people. Boom. All right. So, I am here to talk wine and ball with my guy, Drew Bledsoe, former Patriot quarterback, former Washington State, owner of Double Back Winery. Let me bring my guy in.
Yeah, we're
Yo!
in. We're in. What's up, man?
Dude, I'm all discombobulated. It's so funny. So my wife, she took our daughter to her first photo shoot in LA, and
Oh, wow.
it's just my son and I. It's funny. Every time my wife leaves the house, I always feel like I've been stripped of my caretaking abilities.
Oh, I hear you loud and clear. Our kids are older now, but when my
Okay.
wife would leave earlier, when they were young, she would write out like specific instructions for every minute of the day because she didn't believe that I could get anything done. She was
Yes.
probably correct, but like, no, Henry needs to eat at this time. John's allergic to this. Stu has to be. And I'm like, honey, we'll figure it out. They're gonna eat. But
No, but I took her personal sometimes. Like, listen, I'm here every day too,
yeah, right. No, I know.
but they're more
But
detailed. How you doing though?
unfortunately they were right a lot of the time. They were right. I'm
No,
doing well, man.
always
I'm
right.
doing
That's
well.
yeah,
This whole world we're living in right now is a little bit crazy, and I think we all know that.
yep,
But I'm sort of a relentlessly positive person, and so there's a lot of good things that have come out of this. Like, we got three
right,
sons that are in college. We've gotten to spend time with those three boys young men, I should say, that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And so, we've been able to do that. We've been able to, a lot of family time, a lot of that. So I'm trying to find, the silver linings in this thing. But
of
man, it's a
course.
crazy world we're living in, man. It really is.
Yeah, it's wild, especially when you think about just the virus alone. Because for me, the confusing part is, okay, if I have the flu,
Right.
I'm feeling like trash.
Yep.
Right now with
Yep.
this, it's the flu, but you can feel just fine and
Right.
have it. Apparently,
Yeah.
that's the weird
Yeah.
part about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
It's a big scary thing out there. I will tell you though, we have been drinking a lot of wine. And I think a lot of other
dude,
people
tell
have
me
been
about it, man.
have been too. I talked to a lot of friends, and like if you're stuck at home and dinner is the only event that day, and you start planning for dinner at like 11 in the morning, you're actually going to open some good wine that day, which is kind of fun. All of a sudden, Tuesday becomes a reason to open a special bottle of wine.
Yep. No, exactly. Every day's been an adventure, and it's been cool just to really sit home and experiment. A bunch of wines, and
Hmm.
obviously, it was really cool when you sent me the gift. I was able to open up and share with my neighbors because we have a cul-de-sac in my neighborhood, and every Saturday we all come out there and social distance and enjoy our wines. And I was like, hey man, my neighbor is a diehard Pats fan,
Oh, right
and
on. Right
yeah,
on.
and like legit like Drew Bledsoe first. So when I brought that
Right.
out, I mean, rosé what you just poured is actually really good, but it could have tasted like vinegar, and he would have loved it. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, we've got a few of those customers out there that you know, we could send them whatever and they're just going to like it, you know. But
No.
and we appreciate that, but we're really trying to be good at it too, which is fun.
Yeah, very
So
good.
but before we jump into wine talk, I just while we're waiting for people to join, you know, I do try whenever I'm beyond with somebody, I at least do like the simplest research, right? You know, so to get onto Google. So I know some things about you. I know you were the Gatorade Player of the Year in Rhode Island when you were
Wow.
growing up. I know that about
Yo.
you. You know, Boston College. I know all these teams. I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, it's Google's fault. I know you played exactly one. I know you played exactly one game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Dude, that's that's an
And
interesting story. But go ahead.
okay. No, and in that game you had 6 tackles, forced a fumble. So I mean, I know a little bit. But I also know that you grew up. I also know that you grew up in Cranston, Rhode Island. And so I'm asking for a friend, but I have an important question for you. Did you know Frida Felcher growing up in Cranston, Rhode Island?
Man, that sounds so good. My dad would know better than me. So
Oh, see.
technically,
Oh
no,
no,
listen.
hold on. There's some people out here that are going to get this, and that's straight out of Dumb and Dumber from Lloyd and Harry.
No, I understand that.
So Harry, you know, Will didn't have carnal knowledge of Frida Felcher like Harry did. All right, so you gotta be careful.
Listen,
I saw Cranston and took me right back.
you can use Dumb and Dumber. You can use Me, Myself, and Irene. You can use all these Rhode Island stuff.
I love it. Anyway, so yeah, but do you want to tell the Saskatchewan
No,
Rough
I
Rider
definitely
story,
did
or
get
is that?
smacked. No, I definitely got hit with the Dumb and Dumber joke. See, when it comes to movies, I am the worst in terms of movie quotes. I am
Gotcha.
absolutely terrible with
All right.
that. But okay, so really quick with my Saskatchewan story. So this was a situation where I was look at you laughing already. Oh my gosh, dude. So this is a situation where I'm like, okay, I'm working out for teams, and I'm like, you know what? I think the best way for me to get opportunity is to actually play football. Like that's the best film, right? To play football. So
Yeah,
I go up there,
absolutely.
reluctantly went up there because I'm like, man, I really don't want to have to do this after playing like 12 years already. But I was just trying to, I really wanted to keep playing. So I went up there, and it was great football. It's honestly the Green Bay of Canada. That's what it was. And really good football. Really, the game was good. But the coach, I dealt with so many egos on the coaching staff. And I'm like, dude, if I'm going to deal with this nonsense, it's going to be the NFL. It's not going to be here. So that was my thing. But I actually, to correct you, yes, I grew up in Providence.
Okay. It says Cranston on Google, on Wikipedia, so you're gonna have to correct that because you know, that's where Frida Felcher was from, and you know those guys, those Dumb and Dumber guys, they're serious.
You need to cut it. You need to. All right, that's enough of that. All right, you're not gonna. I'm like, listen, No, so yeah, from Providence, then I moved to Cranston High School, but I know you talked about this many, many times and done so many interviews. But how did you first get into wine, despite being from where you are?
Yeah, you know, so it was when I was playing for the Patriots. You know, it's kind of surprising to most people how many guys that play football are actually into wine. You know, there were probably, I don't know, 8 guys that were kind of wine geeks when I was playing.
Who were they?
Well, it was interesting because a lot of them were linebackers. You know, it was like Vrabel and Brewski and Izzo. You know, the quarterbacks obviously were way more sophisticated than everybody else. So it was the quarterbacks were obvious, you know, with Damon Hewitt and John Freese and so on. Roman Pfeiffer. And then when we'd go out to dinner, Bruce Armstrong. Of course, I was always buying when I went out to dinner with Bruce. And so he would always order whatever was the most expensive wine. But you know, there were a number of guys on the team that kind of became kind of wine geeks a little bit. And the cool thing for me was that when I was playing, my little hometown, so I grew up in Walla Walla, right, which is where the winery is now.
Yeah.
While I was playing, Walla Walla became one of these really like world-renowned and wine regions. Maybe not world-renowned, but quality-wise, they were on par with a lot of those. So when guys would come over and, hey, bring a bottle of red wine, we'll put a Napa Cab and something from Bordeaux. We'll we'll put them all in paper bags and we'll do a blind tasting at the house. And I would always, being, you know, the Walla Walla boy, I would always throw a Walla Walla wine into the mix and we would win, you know, like, no, I wasn't trying to lose. I was putting some Leonetti and some, you know, some Woodward Canyon, or I was putting like really high quality Walla Walla wine in there. But well, the Walla Walla wines from my little hometown would win. And I'm like, damn, you know, maybe my little hometown really has something going on here. And I need to take a little deeper dive. And that's where the seed was planted that maybe, you know, after ball, I could go back to my little tiny hometown in the middle of nowhere and start a wine business. But not just start a wine business, but start a wine business where we could really felt like we could compete on a world stage. And so that's really where the seed was planted. And then from there, you know, I mean, you know, you go down this wine rabbit hole, as I know you're understanding, and man, it's never ending. But it's really been fun. It really has been. So how about you? How'd you catch this wine bug that bites us and we can't get rid of?
I know. No, but I do want to touch on, though, for you is where you stand out. Like, you see so many celebrities, so many athletes that are involved with wine, but you literally went there and planted these vines, right? Like, you started from scratch, and you're on the vineyard, you're working on the vineyard. This isn't just I'm going to slap my name on it. You are the guy.
You know, I appreciate that, because that's I mean, that is the truth. And what was most intriguing for me about starting a wine business was not just coming in and having you know, our name on a bottle and being a part of a project. That was not that intriguing to me, because what's the most magical thing about wine is that you start with dirt, and then you grow a plant that produces fruit, and then you go through this process, and at the end of the day, you end up with a drinkable work of art that you created from the soil. And you know, and that's the part that's so intriguing to me, is that you start and you go through this whole process for many, many years before you end up with something that's hopefully really special. Coming in and just, you know, having a sort of an endorsement deal, you know, for another winery, you know, that sounds fine, but that's not really where the passion lies. You want to start with dirt and go all the way through to the bottle and see if you can make something that's really, really cool.
And so when was your first vintage?
Our first vintage was 2007. That was not with our own fruit. We planted our first estate vineyard that same year. So we bought fruit for the first three vintages. And then in 2010, we started bringing our estate fruit in. And that's since become the backbone of the wine, and really taken over the blend. So yeah, it's been a cool ride. A whole bunch of things that they don't tell you when you get into the wine business. You know, the first is that you're at the mercy of Mother Nature. You know, you're a farmer first, and so you kind of get what Mother Nature gives you, and so that can be nerve-wracking. I know a heck of a lot more about accounting than I ever thought I would. I didn't think I was like, oh, this is a sexy business. No, it's actually mostly about knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
Figuring out where you're going to be if you want to make it a business. But it's been a great ride. So back to you, man. How'd you catch this wine bug?
Well, I always enjoyed it. Just, you know, especially my senior year in college, we would get, I don't know, the jug wines, or we would get like, I like Vinho Verde, you know, Portugal Casal Garcia was the brand. But similar to what you said, when I was drafted to the Packers in 2006, that's the same year we signed Charles Woodson, who's, you know, who was already in the wine business, which I had no idea, you know, and I followed his career. And similar, when we would travel to different cities, he would always take the defensive backs out to a nice restaurant in that area, you know, when we have that window of free time. And so I would go there and all of us would enjoy. He would buy just a bunch of wines that were really cool. I had no idea what they were, what the brand was, but I just enjoyed how the wine tastes. And then further along I would go to different events and functions, and, you know, people would take the glass of wine and swirl it and try to describe the legs and all kinds of different things. And I just wanted to know more. And this is what really stood out to me. So when I was in Milwaukee, which is about 2 hours from Green Bay, this gentleman he was in, I think, commercial real estate, and he took us out to dinner. And I remember he ordered, he called it Burgundy. He said he ordered a Burgundy, and he's like, oh man, I just love Burgundy. It was great. It was awesome, and I tried it, and I really enjoyed it. And I remember, next thing you know, I went to a restaurant. I looked for a Burgundy. I'm thinking Burgundy is like is the name of the wine, one style. I opened Burgundy. There's like 50 different wines, bro. So I was like, okay, can I have this Burgundy right here? I just picked one. He brought me the glass, and it was white, and I'm like, that's not Burgundy. He's like, no, it is, and he started getting into it. So that right. I didn't know there was Burgundy white and Burgundy red. I had no idea. So that's when I really wanted to get into it, and then I ended up seeing the documentary Psalm on Netflix, and it really showed a different side on how to evaluate wine. Because okay, how did I fall in love with football? My father, he had all these old VHS films that had, John Facenda and Sam Spence and just old school football follies and Inside the Hidden NFL. And I love watching the people who paved the way. So that's how I fell in love with football. And that's the thing too. When I saw that documentary, it showed the history, the real craft of winemaking. There were wars over wine. There was all kinds of things, like, for example, Moscato, right? I didn't know that during World War II, that's what the troops loved when they came back to the States. They loved Moscato. So that's what really got me into it. And so I was like, okay, I need to find a class like that. And locally here in California, there's a master sommelier, Peter Neptune. He has his own wine school here. And I went there, and that's when I took the WSET level 2, and it just changed everything. Right. Everything. Right. Yeah. It did, because now I'm not subjective. I'm not. If I have a wine and I understood what went into it, how it was made, regardless if it's the style I like or not, I can appreciate it because I understand, what happened with this. So, so that's where I got smacked with the bug.
And so for anybody that's listening in that if you're not it's a little bit wine geeky, I really think the movie Psalm holds up even if you're not into wine. I think it's a really interesting study of ultimately ends up being of a test and this quest to become a master sommelier, which has the lowest pass rate of any professional test in the world. And it's like really 6, right? Yeah, it's like 5 or 6% pass this test, and there are 3 facets. One is just knowledge. The other is the tasting portion, which always blows my mind. I've sat in a couple of these things with some of these guys, and
it's crazy, right?
But they get a lot of them wrong, but when they get them wrong, they understand why. But they can talk about these wines in such great depth. It's really amazing. And then the last portion is the customer service part, and I think I could get that part now just because we've been selling wine for a long time, but it's really an amazing thing, man. It's a quest that people go through forever and ever. I'm seeing these questions pop up. Well, I'm not going to skip this one just because it popped up, because as these come up, people are asking what was the first Walla Walla wine that really blew my mind, and it's cool because they were my next door neighbors growing up. And I had no idea they were making wine, but it was Leonetti Cellars. and I was back in Massachusetts, and I went down and I knew about Leonetti. It was hard to find, even though I was neighbors with them growing up, I couldn't even get on their list. I had to make 4 phone calls to get on their list, but I found in our local wine store, they had some Leonetti. It's like, all right, it's my hometown. Let's see if this lives up to the hype. And I brought it home, and it was a 2005. No, it was not. It was actually, I forget how old I am, man. It was a 1998. It was a 1998 Leonetti Reserve that I found in the basement of a wine store in Boston.
That's wild.
And I brought it home, and we'd been, right. They just had this stuff, and people back in Massachusetts didn't know about this wine. And so when you care, he goes, oh yeah. Like, I don't know, whatever. And I can't remember the number, but he gave it to me for basically nothing. But it was Leonetti Reserve. And I thought at that point, one of the best wines I'd ever had in my life. And it just so happened that they were my next door neighbors. And flash forward to 2007 when we started Doubleback, I was able to hire my next door neighbor, Chris Figgins, who had made Leonetti with his dad. He's second generation at Leonetti. I was able to hire him as our consulting winemaker. So it was like one of those epiphany moments. And then when we started in the wine business, like, dude, I wonder if I could ever possibly hire that guy to make our wine for us. And lo and behold, he was willing to do it for us. So it was kind of this full circle kind of deal that was my first epiphany wine from Walla Walla.
I heard that he makes a pretty good Sangiovese too. I haven't had it, but that's what I heard. That's cool. That's wild, dude. That is a crazy world. Yeah, it's funny. So really quick, how I got into the concierge side is my first thought was I want to make my own wine. That's what I initially wanted to do. I wanted to have my own wine label. So I remember I talked to so many people, so many winemakers, and they all said the exact same thing. They said you can have the best grapes, you can hand harvest, you can have the best barrels, bottles, you can do everything. They said at the end of the day, can you sell it?
Right? Yeah. No.
They said that's the hardest part.
That is the hardest part, and even more so, especially, and I'm saying not now as in today, COVID quarantine, but now over the last 4 or 5 years, you not only need to be able to sell it, but if you want to stay small, which we do, and still have a real business, you have to be able to sell it directly to the consumer without having to push out through distribution, because then all of a sudden you're feeding a couple of levels of markup, and it requires, quite honestly, it just requires a whole bunch of time and effort to do that, because it's a high touch business. Most of our customers, I won't say most, a high percentage of our customers I've had personal interaction with at some point. But it's one of those things where, look, we've built a good business. Now it's been 13 years now, which is crazy. But each of those customers that we have, or a vast majority of those customers that we have, it's like getting out and meeting the people. You don't just hey, we're going to make good wine, we're going to put a label on it, and people are going to buy it. That doesn't work, man. That doesn't work. You actually have to work it. And it's become even more poignant through the quarantine, where people are locked in their homes and we can't do events. Like normally we do a lot of events where we get out and see the people and have wine dinners. We had we have an annual event where we have, 600 people come to the winery. My spring schedule was packed, man. I was going to be in New York, Boston, Dallas, Florida, California, Colorado. I was on airplanes, just going to go sell wine. All of a sudden, all of that's canceled. Yeah. So now we had to pivot in our team, and it's really cool, honestly, for me in running a business to see how many parallels there are between business and football, or business and sports, I should say, more globally. Right. But one of the things that's most poignant through this is you don't really find out what kind of team you're on until the shit hits the fan, right? When everything's going good, man, it's easy to be on a good team. Yeah. It's like, hey, man, everything's easy. But when things go sideways and all of a sudden you're down 14 points in the fourth quarter, or, God forbid, you lost a couple games in a row and your back's against the wall, now you find out, the character of the people that you have around you. And our team has really just jumped up and pivoted into this new world. And, we're doing a lot of Zoom wine tastings. We're doing more of what we're doing right now, which honestly is really fun, man. It's always good conversation. Yeah. But yeah, that's the deal, right? If you want to be in the wine business, it's it's very romantic. You get to grow grapes and make wine and come up with a label.
But you got to create a culture, right?
You do, and at the end of the day, if nobody's buying your wine, you don't get to be in the wine business for very long.
Especially if you own a vineyard. Yeah, if you own a vineyard, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. I think, close by, Charles Smith, that's where he does a great job in terms of his marketing and all that stuff. He does a great job with that. That's so cool, man.
You
So
gotta
what do we
touch.
have it right now?
So right now I'm on the 17. I'm on
You
the
went
17.
you just jumped to the 17? Okay, you can't skip there. Talk to me about Healy Rose.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, man. No, I just, yeah, we got, so the Healy Rose, we started making rose for one very simple reason. My wife likes rose. And so
That's a great reason.
yeah, you know, it also happens to be a very hot segment in wine, but we're never going to be at a production level where rosé could be the backbone of a business. So we started making rosé, and it's more of an amenity for our club members, and but everything that we do at the winery has a very specific purpose and gets our full attention. We don't make anything half-heartedly, right? You know, so a lot of rosé projects, a lot of them are Saunier projects where they'll bleed off juice from the red wine to concentrate it, and they just end up with this excess juice. Or it's vineyard blocks that aren't performing, and they're like, we'll just make pink wine out of it and make it sweet and push it out. We didn't want to go that route. We wanted to make really serious rosé and see if we could make it as good as we possibly could.
Yep.
So we tried a bunch of rosés from all over the world, and rosé is so funny because it's just a color, right? There's no varietal attached to it. There's no style attached to it. There's no region attached to it. It's just a color. It's pink wine. So you can go everything from sticky sweet on one end of the spectrum to ultra dry, like French rosé on the other end of the spectrum. And we tried them all. We lean more toward the dry end of the spectrum, but particularly with the 18 and the 19, Josh has gone and he's taken residual sugar up to just above the level where the human palate can detect it, right? So there's just that much residual sugar in the wine, so it's not completely dry, and I think that sweetness really gives it some appeal. I mean, you're sitting out there on the summer day and you want some rosé. You want that crispness to it, but having just that little bit of sweetness to it really, really appeals to me. It's primarily Syrah for anybody that cares.
You said primarily Syrah? Is that what it was?
Primarily Syrah, yeah.
Very good. Yeah, no, right, because you get a lot of like the fruity notes, even though it's what, like 13%, is it? I believe. I think it was 13.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Which is,
well, actually, for rosé, that's a little. It's high in France, but for us,
I was gonna say that's pretty high, yeah, for a rosé. But you still get that fruitiness, which you can taste the sweetness of it, even though it's still 13%. So that's really cool. No, I've been absolutely annihilating rosé, almost to the point where I drink it like it's juice.
I know. You got to be
bad.
You got to be careful with the rosé, because you start sitting out there, you start drinking it like it's Kool-Aid, and all of a sudden you can get a little sideways without recognizing it. What are some of your other favorites?
As soon as you stand up. So rosé has been a struggle for me. Because I'm like, man, they all taste very similar. But there was one that I found from, I think he's a German winemaker, Nakel and Meyer, I think it was.
Really?
Meyer, Nakel, one of the two. And that was just, it was like $20, and it was just lip smacking. I was like, damn, this is really, really good. And then I think you sent me the 18 first.
Oh, did I? Okay. Yeah.
No, I have the 19 now, but I think you sent me the 18 a while ago. But also, so that reminds me, before I'm going to go all over the place, but those who are listening right now, there you go, Meyer Nakel. That's my creative director, Patrick. He's on our Instagram right now.
Is it Meyer?
Yeah, he just wrote it in the chat right there.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, Meyer Nakel.
Oh, there we go. Cool. I gotta make notes on these things, man. I'm getting old. I don't think I have any, CTE or any of that. But man, I'm just getting to that age now where if I don't write things down, then they just disappear. So I got to write.
Yeah. So it's a Pinot Noir rosé.
Oh, is it really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
cool.
But I want everybody to know who's listening right now that, like the way our friendship started is like you truly like reached out, like a big brother, like we're in a fraternity, and reached out to help and support. everything that I'm doing, and that's how this happened organically. That's where I'm thankful and appreciative of that. So for those who don't know, that's how this started. Drew reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I want to help you any way possible, support you," and so I'm thankful for that.
It's my pleasure, man.
Yeah,
It's I'll tell you what, one thing that's really nice, and you mentioned Woodson. Rick Meyer is another guy that's an NFL guy that's really serious about wine.
and Terry
Uh,
Hogue.
Terry Hogue, Damon Heward, and Dan Marino have a project called Passing Time, and it's just really cool to me to see ex-athletes that are getting into wine, and actually they're really serious about it. Like they're trying to be serious about wine, right? It's not just like,
Get
hey,
your boy
let's go, yeah. What's
Get your
that?
boy Damien. So get your boy Damien.
Yeah, hey Woody, hey Woody. We ship to New Jersey. All you have to do is you go to the website and you get that dry, dusty Visa card out of your wallet that's never come out, and you enter those numbers, Woody, and then we will ship you wine. I don't know if you know where your Visa card is. When we went out to dinner, you could never find it. But if you can find your Visa card, just put those numbers in, and we'll send you some wine, bud.
Was he the guy like, damn, I left my wallet at the house. I left my
No, I always took care of my guys. They were never expected to have their wallet when I took them out. But I had to bust
Oh, you
Woody's
know
chops.
who
So yeah, he's great.
who I'm really good friends with out here who lives nearby? Pat Harlow.
Mm. Low Daddy,
Hello, Daddy.
one of my all-time favorite dudes that I ever played with, Pat Harlow. He certified
He's coaching
badass
football
on the
out here
football field.
at
He is, and at I'll come up with it. But
Jay Sarah.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, and no, Low Daddy, like great friend, one of the nicest dudes. And then he was one of those people that you and I both played with that had that switch on game day where all of a
Yep.
sudden, man, like all of a sudden they're the nastiest dude on the planet. And then, game was over, and Harlow was right back to being just most of the time
Yeah.
back to being just a sweetheart. But on game day, whew, man, I was glad he was on my side.
Nah, very cool. Hold on, I should have got another. Oh, there we go. I got another glass. Thank gosh. Because I'm not about to dump out this rosé. I'm gonna pour your 17.
Hey, so Dion's asking about we've got this little podcast with my brother and actually the one really funny dude that we know. And we've been on a hiatus for a little bit, just kind of we're quarantined and all that stuff. But the basement tapes are coming back probably within the next 2 weeks. We'll get one out there.
So what's the future look like for Doubleback?
The future for Doubleback is evolutionary. Rather, it's not revolutionary. We're not. There's no big changes on the horizon. I think in terms of Doubleback Cabernet, one of the cool things, and again, we talked earlier about the comparisons between being in business and particularly being in the wine business and football. By the way, I'm just looking at myself on the camera. I need a haircut, buddy. It's this quarantine. This thing's not working for me right
Listen,
here.
you got put a hat on like you always do. You always have a hat usually when I've been seeing you do this stuff.
Yeah, man. I know. I need one. I'll go find one. But the one of the cool comparisons though between ball and running this wine business is that if you're in ball, and I think this applies to all sports, but if you stop improving, then it's kind of time to hang it up. Like or at least striving to improve, right? If you stop trying to get better at your craft, it's kind of time to move on and do something else. And I'm really proud to say with what's going on with our team and with our vineyards, and we have our own farming company. We're getting better,
Right.
we're getting better in the vineyard, we're getting better in the winery. And as we've gotten nice critical acclaim and all that stuff. And but we're just, it's like the 18. So the 17 is the best wine that we've made to this point, in my opinion, especially the Estate Reserve. The 18s that are in the cellar are unbelievable. And we're just continuing to get better and better. So there's an evolution happening. And then we're also starting another side project. Josh McDaniels, our winemaker, he and I we're breaking off, and we're going to have a separate project that's going to be focused on Willamette Valley Pinot Noir and single vineyard Syrah from the Walla Walla Valley.
Very cool.
So that's going to be like technically like a third winery, really small. We're talking, 500 cases of each wine, really small production stuff. So now we've got a platform. No, it won't be called Doubleback. It'll be Bledsoe McDaniels. And
Okay.
really two reasons for that. One, Doubleback is always going to be Cabernet. We wanted to dip our toe into Pinot Noir. We made a little bit this last year. Josh killed it. He did a great job. And then we also have some of these really distinct vineyards in the Walla Walla Valley, which by the way, you haven't been to Walla Walla yet, but you're coming. I know you're coming.
Well, I was trying to come in the spring, but obviously they're going to cancel it.
Yeah, I know. We're going to get you up there, but you'll dig it. It's really, really cool because there's, especially for all the varietals, but it's particularly poignant with Syrah. From one spot to the next spot to the next spot, you get these really unique profiles from the wine, and Syrah I think really brings that out. So we're going to do Pinot Noir, and then eventually there'll be 3 single vineyard Syrahs under that portfolio. Pretty geeky wine, this is not going to be mass marketed stuff. This is going to be like Syrah aficionados and some people that really dig, Willamette Valley Pinot. We're not going to blow it up. It's not going to be a big project. But we now that we've got a platform, we can try some of that stuff without harming our business. And so we're going to do some more stuff like that.
Yeah, you sent me the Bledsoe family Syrah, and that was interesting, man, because I'm like, this was kind of thick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's got some structure to it.
Right.
It's the stuff that I sent you was from LaFour Vineyard, which is down on the rocks, which is a warmer spot. That's where Christophe Baron makes Cayuse down there, at least like the older, the more traditional Cayuse Syrah that's just always Rain Vaughn is down there.
Okay.
And so we actually, believe it or not, with what we did stylistically compared to those other wines, we actually harvested a little earlier and reined it in a little bit. But they're big wines. They're interesting wines. That have
no, they were because it coated my glass, but I smacked it though. Yeah, I was saying that it coated my glass, and but I just kept going. I never had a Syrah like that, so that was rocking. I'm over here. I got my Corvin over here because I got to save this bottle. If I open this, then I'm doomed. So I gotta save it. That's the goods. I forgot that we sent you the Estate Reserve. So we did the Estate Reserve. Those are I think with the 17. I think we did like 4 or 5 barrels of Estate Reserve in 17. And those are quite simply, as we go through this whole process, they're, with a handful of barrels that Josh and Joe keep their eye on that are performing better than the rest. And we set those aside, and those become the Estate Reserve. And that's the goods. That's the real goods. No, this is the goods. And my wife, it's funny, we were going, I had her going battling with, I don't know if Rick is still in here. I saw him pop in, but your wine and Rick Meyer's wine. She's going back and forth battling, and I think she loved the was it 08 cab I think you sent, or it might have been an 08 reserve.
From that I sent.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sent you an 08 cab. I think I sent you an 08 cab.
I have it over there somewhere. It's on display somewhere. Dude, so let's talk a little ball.
Yeah. No, it's go ahead. Yeah.
So who's your favorite QB right now that you love to watch right now? Other than Pat Mahomes.
Other than Mahomes, right? So, first of all, I'll say as a blanket statement, I always loved watching great QB play. So I grew up.
Don't say Minshew either.
I love Minshew.
I know you love
Minshew. But that's all about the mustache. But when I grew up, when I was growing up, that was Elway, Marino, Kelly, Joe Montana, Aikman, Steve Young. That was that era. So I grew up watching these guys that are on the Mount Rushmore of quarterback play. And then I actually got to play against those guys, which was really cool, sort of a trip. But I gotta tell you, the guy that intrigues me the most, probably right now, and that I'm so curious to watch his evolution, is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
because there have been a lot of forever. There've been a lot of quarterbacks that come in and that flash with their athletic ability. But that seems to kind of like go off like a firework, and then people figure it out. And then if you can't throw accurately, then, it doesn't really work. And I think Steve Young said it first. He said when he became a good quarterback was when he learned how to play from the pocket. So
right.
I watched Lamar Jackson this last year, and I know they lost to the Titans in the playoffs. But when they lost to the Titans in the playoffs, there were a lot of dimes that he threw that got dropped, right?
Right.
And so this kid, as if he continues to progress and work from the pocket and throw accurately, and then he can do what he can do, man, I think Belichick said that's a problem, right? So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how he can continue to develop.
No, and I agree, because the conversation is like, oh, he got knocked out twice in the playoffs. I'm like, dude, he's 23 years old and he already won the MVP. And there are so many quarterbacks that sit, for a while until they're ready to go. He's in there now, so it's like even let's just say he doesn't truly learn to just go through the whole thing and sit in the pocket until he's like 26. That's still pretty damn young. So no, you're totally right. Like, it's a scary situation. I think where he succeeds already.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. I said I think where he succeeds is that he already won mentally,
right?
Like, he's already mentally capable, because you see a lot of quarterbacks that come into the NFL and they have every single tool, every arm you could, the nice arm, but just mentally they're just not ready. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's, not once he sits there and the game slows down for him as a passer. I mean, it's lights out for him.
Well, and because I'm fairly certain that this is correct. I think he's younger than Joe Burrow, who just won the Heisman.
I think so.
But I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, if you've got a quarterback that's that explosive, it kind of forces you, like you can't play man defense, because everybody's got to have at least one eye on the quarterback, because if that guy gets loose,
right,
you got to be available to save the touchdown, right? And so it's like it's just, he creates real issues, and as long as he continues to progress as a passer from the pocket, it's going to be really interesting. The other thing, though, that I will say that he also, well, first of all, he reminds me of my game. I was explosive as well, so it's sort of self-serving. But
oh no, I did go to those training camps at Bryant. I don't know if I saw any scrambling there.
No, we didn't do a lot of scramble drills. But the other thing that does help for guys that are going to get outside the pocket, and the rules really help. Man, back in the day, I mean, the hits that I took. I saw an interview with Bruce Smith. They asked him if he would have more sacks now if he played now versus back then, and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I would have more because they throw the ball more now." But of the 200 and whatever sacks that Bruce Smith had, he goes, half of them would have been penalties.
Half of them penalties, yeah.
Right. And so, and I do think that's a good thing for the game. I'm jealous, but I do think it's a good thing for the game, because you're going to keep these guys on the field. And so, if you go and you're going to run the ball more as a quarterback, You can do that now with a lower chance of getting hurt than you could back in the day, and I think that's gonna help. I will make a prediction for you. So we're talking about quarterback play. I think Justin Herbert, who went to the Chargers, I think he's going to be very, very successful. We live in Oregon much of the time. Got to watch this kid play a whole bunch. I really, really like his game. He's 6'6". He's got a cannon arm. He's very accurate. He can move around a little bit. And he's also going to a great situation with the Chargers. They had both tackles hurt most of the year last year.
Yeah.
They've got a great defense, really good coach. I know Anthony Lynn played with for him. And now they're going to have a bunch of salary cap space. I think you're going to see Justin Herbert rise up pretty quickly.
What would his pro comparison be, past or present? Who does he remind you of?
Herbert? Man, he throws it really, really good. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think he kind of throws it like I did when I was young. Like, he can spin it. And
it's so funny. I knew you were going to say yourself.
I'm telling you, and I'm just being honest. I'm not being immodest, but I'm
I know you're not.
I'm just saying. I watched the kid throw. I was like, yeah, that looks familiar. He can spin it, right? But then he also, on top of that, he's an inch taller than I am, and the kid can run. I mean, you saw that in the Rose Bowl. He's got wheels, and so that's an added weapon that I chose not to employ, if you will.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I picked. I still like Kyler Murray. I'm excited to see what he does with Hopkins when he comes. I don't know why I said Deshaun Watson and Hopkins. I get
DeAndre.
Yeah.
No, I am too, and he's so intriguing to me too because, first of all, he can throw, man. He can throw. I mean, he can really throw, and to be diminutive like that, and he's going to have to find lanes. You listen to Breeze talk about Breeze is what, 6 foot, 6'1", and you see Breeze back there standing on his toes trying to see, and so he's got to find lanes to throw, but he can throw it well, and no, he is a crazy talent that. I mean, how talented can you? I mean, I know you were a track athlete and all that, but to be drafted in the first round in 2 different sports, that's pretty unique. And
regardless of sport, baseball and football is crazy.
Yeah. Here's trivia for you. Can you name an athlete that was drafted in the first round of 3 sports?
3 sports.
I believe there's only one.
Who?
Dave Winfield. Ended up playing baseball for the Yankees. But I believe that he was drafted in the first round, football, basketball, baseball. You can double check me. Oh, it was a long time ago. I'm not that much older than you, but I guess I am. But Dave Winfield, no, I believe he was drafted in the first round of 3 sports.
That's wild. I got to check that out.
Wow. And then, well, hey man, I got to go pick some people up and take them to dinner.
No, do your thing. That was great. I got to get back to my son. He wants to play Alien versus Predator. So.
Okay. All right. Good. Hey man. Hey, I appreciate you, buddy.
Of course. Yeah. Let me
stay on it. Yeah. There
tap
you go.
the glass for you.
And,
there you go.
And when things are back to normal soon, we'll get you up to Walla Walla and hang out a little bit and show you that wine region. I'm going to make another prediction. So I made 2 predictions. One is Justin Herbert, going to be great. Number 2 is that once you come to Walla Walla, it's going to become your favorite wine region.
Well, I'm trying to harvest, but you won't let me harvest. It's all good. I appreciate it.
Well, we can't afford you, man. Your hourly wage is a little higher than most.
Listen, just pay me in wine. That's all I need.
The barter system is alive and well, bud.
All right, man.
Thank you so much, man. That was a lot of fun.
Of course. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, see you, bud.
Boom, there we go. Talking to Drew Bledsoe. It's cool, man, to do that and to share wine with guys that are in the same fraternity as you. So it's awesome. So yeah, you can go check out Drew's wine. You can join the Wine MVP. Go to thewinemvp.com, subscribe, get some wine. Everybody, thank you. Peace out.